The midday sun hung over the edge of Chicago like a blazing spotlight, exposing every crack in the pavement and every hidden truth in the hearts of the people walking beneath it. Heat shimmered above the asphalt, bending the air into a restless haze, as if the city itself were breathing hard under the weight of its own ambition. In that unforgiving light, a single moment unfolded that would change 3 lives forever. Before we go any further, if you believe that kindness still matters in a world that often rewards greed, if you believe in second chances and quiet heroes who don't wear suits or crowns, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Matters. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and you never know who might need to hear this one today. Tyler Morris had never considered himself a hero. At 35, with broad shoulders shaped by years of lifting crates, cement bags, and whatever else the world demanded of him, he saw himself as something far simpler. He was a father, a provider, a man who woke before sunrise and returned home long after most people had turned off their lights. His faded delivery uniform clung to him in the midday heat as he guided his aging van through the chaos of the outdoor market on the outskirts of Chicago. Vendors shouted over one another, advertising ripe tomatoes and discounted tools. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves. Somewhere, a radio crackled with old country music. It was loud, messy, alive. Tyler wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. His mind wasn't on the noise around him. It was on pancakes. On the way his 6-year-old daughter, Emily, would grin when he flipped them too high in the pan. On how she insisted the first one always be shaped like a heart. He had promised her pancakes for dinner. Simple things were sacred in their apartment. Rituals held their fragile world together. He stepped out of the van to unload the final crate of supplies for a hardware vendor, ready to rush back to the factory for his afternoon shift. That was when he saw it. A sleek leather wallet lay half-hidden beneath a crumpled newspaper near the cracked curb. It didn't belong in that dusty corner. It looked out of place, expensive, deliberate, refined. He picked it up automatically, brushing off grit with calloused fingers. When he opened it, his breath caught in his throat. Crisp bills. Thick stacks. Neatly banded. $10,000 in cash. A black credit card with a metallic sheen that spoke of private lounges and platinum accounts. A business card slid against his thumb. Ariana Veer, Chief Executive Officer. Veer Group. The name echoed in his mind. Veer Group built the skyline. Their cranes pierced the clouds. Their logos hung from half the major projects across the city. He glanced around. No one appeared frantic. No one searched the ground. The world moved on, unaware that a small fortune rested in his hands. For a fleeting second, one dangerous, trembling second, he imagined the relief that money could bring. Rent paid in advance. New shoes for Emily. A fridge that wasn't half empty by the end of the week. Maybe even a savings account that didn't feel like a fantasy. But just as quickly as the thought came, it dissolved. He closed the wallet firmly. Do the right thing, he muttered under his breath, repeating the words he whispered to Emily every morning as he braided her hair with clumsy fingers. He shoved the wallet into his pocket and sprinted toward the main road. A black SUV with tinted windows rolled away from the market lot. Tyler waved his arms, dodging pedestrians, his boots slapping against the pavement. Horns blared as he darted across an intersection. Heat scorched his lungs. Sweat blurred his vision. But he kept running. The SUV stopped at a red light. Tyler reached it just as the seconds ticked down. He tapped on the passenger window, breath ragged. The glass lowered smoothly. Inside sat a woman in her early 30s with sharp features and piercing blue eyes that seemed to assess everything in a heartbeat. Her blonde hair was pulled into a tight bun, immaculate even in the oppressive heat. She wore a tailored red dress that radiated authority. "What do you want?" she asked coolly. Tyler held out the wallet. "You dropped this back at the market." Her expression shifted, controlled surprise, then scrutiny. She opened it quickly, confirming the contents. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "How did you know it was mine?" "Didn't," Tyler panted. "Just saw someone drop it. Figured it mattered." She studied him longer than necessary. "What do you want for this?" The question carried weight. "Experience. A lifetime of transactions disguised as favors." "Nothing," he replied simply. "I've got to get back to work." And he turned away before she could respond, jogging back toward his van, unaware that 15 minutes of integrity would cost him his job. When Tyler burst through the factory gates late, the foreman waited with folded arms and a face carved from policy. No excuses. No compassion. Rules were rules. 15 minutes was 15 minutes. By the time Tyler walked back into the blazing afternoon, he carried a termination slip in his pocket and uncertainty pressing down on his shoulders heavier than any crate he had lifted that day. Emily met him at the apartment building entrance, pigtails bouncing, smile wide. "Daddy, you're early." He scooped her into his arms, burying his face in her hair to hide the storm brewing behind his eyes. "Yeah, kiddo. Let's make those pancakes." Inside the cramped apartment, the scent of syrup filled the air. Emily laughed as batter splattered onto the stove. Tyler smiled through it all, hiding the pink slip in his pocket like a guilty secret. That night, when Emily slept curled against him, Tyler stared at the cracked ceiling. 4 years had passed since his wife, Sarah, died in a car accident on her way home from a hospital shift. One ordinary evening had become the dividing line between before and after. He had buried her and inherited grief alongside unpaid medical bills. Since then, survival had been a relentless rhythm. Work, deliveries, factory shifts, repeat. But Emily had never gone without stories, or milk, or reminders that kindness mattered. The next morning, under a gray sky, Tyler searched for work. By noon, he secured a temporary labor job at a Vera Group construction site. The irony wasn't lost on him. He worked beneath the steel skeleton of a building bearing the very name from the wallet. High above the city, in a glass-walled office overlooking miles of progress, Ariana Vera replayed security footage from the market parking lot. She watched Tyler open the wallet. Pause. Close it. Run. No hesitation. No theft. No bargaining. Just decency. 3 days later, curiosity pulled her to the construction site under the pretense of inspection. She spotted him instantly, shirt soaked, hands blistered, lifting more than his share without complaint. During lunch, she saw him split his only sandwich with an older worker who had lent him gloves earlier. "Kindness comes back around," he had said with a grin. The words unsettled her. For years she had believed kindness came with contracts, with expectations, with eventual betrayal. Then came the storm. Rain hammered against her SUV as she struggled with a flat tire near a roadside store. Mud soaked her designer shoes. Frustration flared. "Need a hand with that?" came a familiar voice. Tyler stepped forward in a cheap raincoat, tools in hand. He fixed the tire without ceremony, refused payment, told her to pay it forward. As rain blurred the city into watercolor streaks, something inside Ariana softened. Weeks passed. Chance meetings turned into conversations. Conversations turned into quiet companionship. Ariana found herself sitting on Tyler's apartment stoop one autumn evening, sharing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as Emily giggled beside them. For the first time in years, she felt present. Not as CEO, not as heiress, just Ariana. But the world rarely allows simplicity to remain untouched. A photo of her sitting on that stoop went viral. Headlines accused her of staging charity optics. Comments mocked Tyler as a pawn in a publicity stunt. The next time Ariana knocked on his door, hurt and confusion hung between them. Tyler's fear spoke louder than his heart. He pushed her away, convinced he would eventually lose her anyway. Better to break it himself than be broken again. Days turned heavy. Silence thickened. Then Emily saw Ariana in her car near school, crying. That night, Emily wrote a letter in wobbly crayon handwriting and mailed it through a neighbor. "Daddy pretends he's strong, but he's not," she wrote. "When you don't come, he doesn't laugh." The letter reached Ariana's office. Tears blurred the words. Franklin, her longtime driver, read it and drove straight to Tyler's job site. "Don't let fear steal what's real," Franklin told him. The next day, Tyler walked into Vera Tower in dusty boots, tracking construction grit across marble floors. He entered a boardroom filled with executives and found Ariana at the head of the table. "I was wrong," he said. "I'm here for you. Not your world. Just you." Silence held the room hostage. Ariana crossed the distance between them and embraced him without caring who watched. Months later, Ariana stepped down from her CEO role and founded the One Honest Day Foundation, dedicated to workers punished for acts of integrity. Tyler became its leading advocate, sharing his story in community centers and schools. They built something together, not of steel and glass, but of trust. Their wedding took place in a park beneath autumn daylight, simple and sincere. Emily wore a flower crown and declared that family wasn't about big houses, but about who stayed when you were sad. Life became quieter, softer, rich in ways money could never measure. And if this story has touched your heart, if you believe that a single honest choice can ripple outward and change destinies, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to Kindness Matters so more people can remember that goodness still exists. Before we end, I want to ask you something special. Comment below with one word that represents what this story made you feel. Just one word. Let's fill the comments with reminders that kindness is still alive. Because in the end, Tyler didn't become wealthy from $10,000 he could have kept. Ariana didn't find peace in another skyscraper. They found something greater. A man who believed he wasn't enough learned that integrity was his greatest wealth. A woman who trusted no one learned that real strength lies in vulnerability. And a little girl proved that sometimes the bravest hearts are the smallest ones. In the clear light of day, beneath a sky that once felt merciless, 3 lives stood together, strong not because they had everything, but because they chose each other. And sometimes, that is the richest ending of all.